For evolutionary reasons, puffins' beaks fall off after sex, assuming you believe in evolution, that is, like that... what was the name of the naturalist on board the Beagle?
Charles Darwin, you mean?
Oh.
Oh, right! This is a whole new tactic he's doing.
He wasn't the naturalist on board the Beagle. Oddly enough, there was an official naturalist on board the Beagle, and it wasn't Charles Darwin. He was the...
I don't care anymore!
Oh, you're angry, I'm sorry. Philip, I wish it hadn't happened to you. He wasn't the cook, no.
He was the figurehead on the prow.
He wasn't that either. He was, in fact, the geologist.
The geologist.
He took 4 times more notes on geology than he did on zoology, oddly enough. It was the doctor, whose name was McCormack, who was the official naturalist, and he really resented Darwin being there. It was rather snobbish British 19th century reasons, is that Fitzroy, whose voyage it was, wanted a gentleman companion, and Charles Darwin fitted the bill rather more than the doctor.
Was there an advert in the Telegraph? Wanted, Puffling.
Accompanied, yes, on long voyage. The doctor resented Darwin because Darwin took his place at the captain's table and everything was treated as an equal of the captain because Fitzroy was an independently rich gentleman, as they would call him then. And Darwin writes in his diary, in fact, my friend the doctor is an ass. But we jog along very amicably. At present he's in great tribulation whether his cabin should be painted French grey or dead white. I hear little excepting this subject from him. So he was obviously a man who goes, how shall I paint my cabin? That's all he ever talked about. So, but on Christmas Day in 1835, there's the young Darwin before he grew that massive beard, they went to Tierra del Fuego, the land of the fire, right down below South America. And there, Darwin was very astonished to note what happened when the local people had a famine, what they turned to eat. Can you imagine what it is that they ate when times were difficult?
Guinea pigs.
No, guinea pigs are eaten generally around South America quite commonly. That's
one another?
One another is right, but a particular type of person was chosen.
Elderly people.
And a particular type of...
Elderly women?
Elderly women is the answer. The elderly women ran for the hills when there was any kind of famine on because they were the ones...
That's some good old lady. I'm not the Gilf cookbook.
Terrible. That's just awful, Philip Eubanks. But the reason being that...
Their arms are so tender.
Well, they explained to the crew of the Beagle that the reason was, I'm afraid to say, that the old women were the least useful members of the tribe. Because old men and children and others could otter hunt, but the old women couldn't hunt for otters.
What about the knitting?
Sorry?
What about the knitting and the crochet?
Well, exactly, I know, exactly.
And who's going to teach you rummy?
That's a very good point. Yes.
You can make dumplings. All these things only old ladies can do.
How does their society evolve with nobody to say, oh, I know. Oh, I know.
The thing is, they'd still be able to make. They'd be able to make dumplings.
Hello. Completely devoid of that.
I know, they could make dumplings out of them.
Yes, exactly.
That's true. That's a very, very, very good point. Anyway, there we are. So that's one of the exciting things that Charles Darwin, who was not the naturalist on board the Beagle, discovered. So we travelled to a more exotic place where they had jackal-headed gods. Where would I be?
Egypt.
You didn't quite say that,
Sorry,
did you?
you phrased that correctly. What? Egypt, you mean?
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you, exactly. Not Egypt, in fact. Those have been known as jackal-headed god. That particular god, extra points if you know that.
Anubis.
Well done. Anubis is the right answer. Anubis, who was... Do you know what the duty of Anubis was?
Something to do with death, didn't he?
Yes.
Guide you into the
He conducted you into the...
Yes.
Brilliant. Another 5 points. I think there's a rather wonderful technical name for a god that guides you into the underworld, like Mercury, who guided you as far as the river Styx, and that's a psychopomp. Is that a good word?
Psychopomp?
A psychopomp.
Sounds like something you'd find in a medical examination, doesn't
Yes,
it? I'm
yes.
sorry, Mrs. Wilson, you've got psychopomps.
It may be benign.
Yes.
They may
You're
be
gonna have to
malignant.
operate.
A malignant psychopomp you wouldn't want. But in fact, what has been discovered, and this is you won't find this on Egyptological websites where they'll continue to call Anubis and other Egyptian deities jackal-headed, but the animals that existed at the time of ancient Egypt were, we now know from DNA, wolves, not jackals. So it seems from a zoological point of view, if not from an Egyptological point of view, they are in fact wolf-headed, not jackal-headed. You heard it here first. Very recent discovery. So that's exciting, isn't it? But now we come to a very special part of the programme here. In this series, we're occasionally featuring theories which are interesting, but which we don't necessarily believe, 100% at least. We call them dubious theories.
A dubious theory from Stephen Fry.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the years between 614 and 911 AD didn't exist. the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III got his chroniclers to fake nearly 300 years of history. So there was no such person as Charlemagne, and we're currently actually living in the year 1715 AD. This is called the phantom time hypothesis. Is it dubious? Look it up on phantomschmantom.com and decide for yourself.
That's like the earliest version of Wikipedia then, isn't it? Like someone's just gone in and changed the pages to make it...
The theory is that this emperor wanted to be on the throne in the year 1000 AD. But in fact, it was only 700 AD. So he basically got the chroniclers to pretend that this 300 years existed. There's one Herbert Illich who started this argument in 1990. And his evidence is the apparent stagnation in the development of architecture, ceramics, and thought at this time, which is, after all, the beginning of the age that is known as the Dark Ages. And there's very little archaeological evidence which can be reliably dated to this period. There's a very limited number of written sources which could be faked or just wrong. I know it's just mad, but anyway, there are a range of achievements that are given to Charlemagne that make you think that he must have been a mythical creature rather than a real one. His size, his warrior, his scholarship, his inventions, his brilliance, and so on. Anyway, it's worth looking up, and you can decide for yourself whether or not it is true. But it's an amazing thought that it could be the year 1715. In which case,
I'm all for it.
we're going to have a Jacobite rebellion any minute. Yeah, there you go. So, there we are. So, as I say, look it up in phantomschmantom.com. So, now, name 2 interesting things you can do with a coconut in Hawaii.
They've got different coconuts in Hawaii from other places?
It's a very touristy thing that is frowned upon by the officials who do nonetheless do it. It's thousands of these are done every year, so...
It's some kind of like, you know, you throw them from a moving vehicle.
You use it as a postcard.
Postcard?
Yeah. And you can see, there they are.
Yes.
You buy them like that, and they will help you decorate it. And you can see the writing on one of them there, just nuts about, see you sometime. You put a stamp on, $10 it costs, something like that, to send it to the mainland of America.
It'd be annoying to get one of those.
It really would, wouldn't it? I know, it's not...
Where's the coconut I sent you? Where is it then?
Yeah. Oh, well, there was a fire.
Yeah.
There was a fire that I threw it into.
A bit of rationality, and I threw it in a bin.
I had a friend who was nearly killed by a coconut, and I've known him for 20 years, and I was furious with him because he only told me a couple of months ago. And if I had nearly been killed by a coconut, I would be shoehorning it into every conversation. Hello, I'm calloused coconut. I was incensed with him, but he said he's just standing on a beach and a coconut fell from the tree, and he said it was such a good shot, hit him directly on the head. He said it was such a good shot, he could hear other coconuts high-fiving each other.
Other things you could do with a coconut, not necessarily in Hawaii.
Get coconut milk out.
Well, yes, the water, the milk, you could use it as a rehydration drip, which they did during World War II, both the Japanese and the Americans, because it's sterile, but it's perfectly serviceable for rehydration to use it as a drip. Have a little coconut dripping into you. The other thing to do, if you have a tooth knocked out, immersion in coconut water will keep the tooth viable for reinsertion, better than milk. So there you are, little things you can do with coconuts. Now, why did JFK keep a coconut on his desk? And there he did, you can see he did. No question about it.
Was he missing a tooth?
No, that wasn't the reason.
Is it a recording device of some sort?
No, it
A
isn't.
CIA nut?
No, it isn't.
Postcard from a friend?
It's a memento, and it's not a postcard from a friend. It's a very rather important memento. Amongst JFK's achievements, obviously, he was a youngish and...
Oh, he was on the torpedo boat during the war.
He was on a torpedo boat, BT-109.
Yeah,
famously, he was
from
rather
then?
heroic. Yes. His torpedo boat was sunk by the enemy, and he found himself stranded on the Solomon Islands, completely isolated. And there were local islanders, and he had no pen or paper, so he carved onto a coconut, which he gave to some of the local native islanders, and asked them to take it to the capital of Rendover, and he carved on it, Noro Island, commander, native knows position, he can pilot, 11 alive, needs small boat, Kennedy. And the natives took it, and eventually he was rescued.
Hurry up and pick us up. They are eating the old women here.
So it was a postcard?
It was indeed. You're kind of right.
off.
He started the whole fashion. And, of course, they gave it back to him as a memento, and he kept it on his desk.
Wow.
Didn't bring him much luck, but...
Bit dark. Bit dark.
Sorry. That's awful. There we go. I can remember it. You're all too old. I mean, hang on. I think I may actually be getting dementia.
I really remember it.
Yes, I can.
I was standing on a grassy knoll with a right...
And a voice told me. Yeah. I was 6 years old, I think, something like that.
I can remember Ronald Reagan being shot, and my dad was in the kitchen, and I said, "Reagan's been shot." And he went, "Huh." That's a bit blasé. And he thought I meant Regan in the Sweeney.
No! In 1981, they had a premiere of a British movie, Chariots of Fire. And they asked our little comedy troupe, with me and Hugh and Emma and Tony Slattery, if we would perform a little cabaret at the Dorchester Hotel after the premiere. And I'd spoken to my mother, and I'd said to her, "I'm very excited, we're going to go to the Dorchester." She said, "God, I'm in the Dorchester." I said, "Do you know the last time I went to the Dorchester? It all broke up very early because it was the night Kennedy got shot. It was in 1962. And I said, "Oh, gosh, blimey." Anyway, so I'm doing the sketch with Emma, and suddenly we noticed the audience is going... and everyone's disappeared, all these executives from Fox and everything. And Reagan had been shot. So I rang my mother up and said, what happened? She said, "No member of this family is ever allowed to go to the Dorchester again. It's not safe for Western democracy."
Which is why during W. Bush's administration, Stephen dined in the Dorchester.
Anyway.
Waiter, any news?
Still not. Dear me. Still, which travel organisation includes a mandatory fee for the repatriation of your corpse?
The AA, Thomas Cook.
No, this is a very particular event that you can subscribe to, which and they sort out your travel and your participation in this event, but included in it is a fee for the repatriation of your corpse. It's not expected you'll die, but there's a chance.
It's not running the bulls at Pamplona, is it?
No, it's not the bulls at Pamplona.
I was going to say dining with you at the Dorchester.
No, dining with the Dorchester might do it, exactly.
It's not one of these Iron Man races,
It's
is it?
that sort of a thing. It's an incredibly difficult marathon. It's called the Marathon des Sables, which your French will tell you means...
Marathon of the Sable.
These little black furry creatures in... Yes, sand is sable in French.
Oh, sable, sorry.
Sable, yes. It's the Marathon of the Sands. And it's an extraordinarily enduring and gruelling event in which you have to carry your own food, although there are water stops, and it's a 6-day... each day you run a whole marathon in the Sahara Desert.
Very weird.
I know. If I have a friend who does it, she's done it twice. She's absolutely extraordinary.
Did she have to go back because she'd forgotten something?
No, two separate years.
Oh, they better not tell Izzard about it.
Yeah, I think...
Really? OK. How many do they do? OK. I'm going to do 120 desert marathons a week for a year. Yeah, true story.
That's very good, Eddie, I have to say. Brilliant.
I'm going to the pub every night for 27 years.
This
tribute to Nelson Mandela.
Consider the case of Mauro Prosperi, who was a very experienced runner, an Italian policeman, in fact, who in 1994 was doing the Marathon des Sables, and there was a sandstorm, and he disobeyed the official instructions, which are, if you're in a sandstorm, you hunker down and wait till it passes. I guess he wanted to win or something, so he carried on running, and he got lost. And this is a bad thing in the Sahara, as I'm sure you can imagine. By the second day, he was drinking his urine, naturally. On the third, he found an abandoned shrine, managed to kill a couple of bats whose blood he drank. He then decided to kill himself with a penknife, but he was so dehydrated that the blood wouldn't flow. He was rather surprised and encouraged to wake up the next morning, and so he ran for the next 5 days, drinking urine and dew and eating the occasional lizard that he found and managed to kill on the way. After 9 days, he encountered some nomads who got him back to safety. He'd lost 3 stone and was 130 miles off course in Algeria. I mean, and then he did it again for 6 years. He went back and did it again. Amazing. I mean, bizarre, but there you go. It's shish.
No one gives the nomads much credit in that.
No, I know, I can say that.
Well, he was out there for 9 days.
Yeah.
Oh, my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. but
He walked for 6 days. Oh, get over yourself. Doing that when I was 3.
Drinking your own piss, luxury.
But his description of it is really a very good life, isn't it? He said, "I didn't panic, I just despaired." There you are. Anyway, what did Napoleon say to Josephine on his way back from a journey?
Ah, I've censored trap. The only thing I know about Napoleon to Josephine was he said...
Yeah.
What was it, Rob? What was it?
Phil.
How?
I'm going to do it. I'm coming back, don't wash.
Oh! That is one of the two things that people know that Napoleon said. Yep, I shall be home soon, don't wash, because he liked them dirty. There is no evidence for that whatsoever. The earliest place this quotation can be sourced is 1981.
I only know the other one.
The other one, which might be... what?
It's the one... Rob, what's it?
Well, you know it.
Cal, what? It's really...
I'm still stuck on the no
Pas ce
washing.
soir, Josephine. And I got away with it.
Josephine, on the right there, she's got the same black eyes that all the people in my pictures have got on my computer when I try and get rid of the red eye.
Yes, that's true.
They end up with massive black dots and they look like some sort of zombie.
Anyway, I'm sorry you fell into our trap, but now you managed to avoid the trap of Not Tonight, Josephine, which is the other thing he was supposed to have said.
That's the one I know.
That appears in a play, W.G. Wells' play called The Royal Divorce, which didn't come out until 1891, some 70 years after the death of the Emperor.
An army marches on its stomach.
Yes, well, indeed, yes.
Did he say that?
Unlikely to have said that to Josephine, but he might have done. I think he made it more as a sort of, you know, a point about logistics.
Maybe he discussed all sorts of battle stuff.
He might have done. He said, I prefer a lucky general to a skilled one, he said as well. So we don't really know anything particular that Josephine and Napoleon might have said to each other. But we do know one thing. Journey's End, in Lovers' Meeting. That's Shakespeare. And fourth place. In fourth place, we have, I'm sorry to say, but he did fall into some of our honey traps rather cumbrously. Phil Jupitus with -16. And our little kiwi fruit is third with -8. Cal Wilson. But hold the front page. Second with -3, Rob Brydon. With an astonishing +4, Alan Davies is the winner! Whoa! That's all from Rob, Phil, Cal, and Alan and me. The last word on Journeys comes from Emma Bornbeck. She said, seize the moment. Remember all those women on the Titanic who waved away the dessert cart. Have a safe trip. Good night.
More quizzing here on BBC HD all this week with Eggheads back on Monday at 6. But next this evening, stay with us for all new comedy with The Thick